Welcome to Homeschool Survival from HisBee. I will be using a secondary schedule for most of this video. Secondary refers to students from 7th through 12th grade. What I share in this video is still applicable to the primary age groups. Students in the primary grades need more breaks for physical activity and instructional time. I recommend younger elementary students focus for no more than 20 minutes at a time on one subject. Upper elementary students can handle 20 to 30 minutes per subject at a time. In between subjects, work in active breaks. Do not allow for breaks to include electronic games and social media during the school day. Electronics cause chemicals in our brains to change in such a way as it causes difficulty to return to the task of learning when the break is done. I'll do another video explaining this later. Active breaks that get the blood flowing and the heart beating will reset their brain and prepare them to be able to focus on learning, as I explained in the last video, Homeschool Survival 101. I recommend a nutritional break for all students and adults, but I don't include this time in the schedule that I'm going to discuss. Feel free to add it back in if you find it valuable. A nutritional break helps feed the brain so that it can continue learning and focusing. I will cover this in depth in another video. Setting and keeping a schedule is very important for many reasons. Remember that education isn't just about knowledge of academic facts, but also about life skills. You're raising a child who will become an adult. And as an adult, they need to be able to have a job and most likely be a spouse and have children. Helping children make habits that they will need in these areas is part of their education. If you are homeschooling for a season, keep your child on the schedule they would normally be on if they were at school. If they get up and take the bus in the morning, keep waking them at the same time you normally would. During their bus ride time at home, have them read a book or listen to an audiobook of their choice. If you're a Christian, this is an excellent time to read the Bible together if you have time you normally would be using in transportation. If you can't read with them, they can do this on their own. Begin the school day when school would regularly happen. This allows your student to not lose the habit of getting up and getting to school on time, and sets them up to learn to be on time for a future job as well. I do not allow my homeschool children to come to school in their pajamas. Many homeschool families love doing this. I feel that it is vital that my students learn that in life we do not go to work in our pajamas, whether we work in home or out of the home. Getting dressed is part of the day for all adults. For that reason, I like to help my children learn this life skill starting in kindergarten. All regular morning routines need to stay in place as close to normal as you can keep it. Brushing your teeth, doing your hair, having breakfast, all the things you would usually do in the morning. These activities are part of our daily routine from the time students can do them on their own until they die. How should the school schedule look when 8 o'clock rolls around? From here on out, I will be using a secondary schedule. The primary grades will be different, as I've already stated. The middle grades tend to only have one elective instead of two, so you'll need to keep this in mind as well. The typical high school student will have 7 periods of the day from 8 o'clock until 3 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Let's work through what their day at school would typically look like. Period 1, 8 to 8:50, assuming a 50-minute period. Some schools do it differently. 8 to 8:10 of this period is going to be what we call housekeeping as a teacher. That's when we take roll, we pass back papers, we're going over last lesson highlights or clarifications, helping the kids understand maybe where they were confused about a certain topic. 8:10 to 8:45 it's instructional time and time to work on assignments. Notice this is only 35 minutes. Let's assume the teacher doesn't rely on homework but tries to get the work done in class. Then if she teaches the lesson for 20 minutes, students will have 15 minutes to accomplish their assignments. Some teachers will teach the entire time and assign the work as homework. Some will give students time the next day to complete homework, but this would average out to be the same as teaching half of the period and doing the assignment for half of the period. 8:45 to 8:50 is again housekeeping, passing in assignments and cleaning up the classroom. Science takes longer if there was a lab to clean up. So then 8:50 to 9 o'clock we call passing period, and that's where students go from one class to the next. They may have to go to the bathroom in the middle of this as well. It's 5 minutes to allow that to occur. Depending on school size, this could be longer or shorter. This is an average. So period 2 comes along. It's now 9 to 9:50. 9 to 9:10, housekeeping, same thing. And you can see how this continues. So this continues through the periods of the morning until we reach lunch. Lunch is usually 35 minutes for most high school students, and then they're back into their schedule. So usually you would be at period 5th or period 6 by the time lunch is done and the kids are back into this classroom. Again, it's the same sort of thing for period 5, 6, and 7 with only about 35 minutes of actual instruction time. Keep in mind that most high school students have 2 electives and a PE. That's physical education. Let's take these classes off of our schedule for now. Don't worry, we will be adding these back in later. We do value them very much, but we will be referring to these classes and others like these as life skills when we discuss homeschooling. If you take 50 minutes and 3 classes, that's 150 minutes or 2.5 hours. Assuming all teachers are frugal with their class time, we have 35 minutes of instructional time and time to do assignments in the remaining periods of the day. That is 35 times 4, because we have 4 classes that are not life skills, which equals 140 minutes, or basically 2 hours and 20 minutes of academic learning time. For the middle grades, it is more like 3 hours since they only have 1 elective instead of 2. Most students cannot get all their assignments done during school hours, and this is why they have homework. Hear me when I say this. I repeat, most students cannot get all their assignments done during school hours, and this is why they have homework, especially in the high school years. In homeschooling or online school, homework can and usually does still exist. As you help set a schedule for your student, they should work for around 40 to 50 minutes on each subject, taking a break to move around in between these subjects, just as they would be if they were at school and had a passing period. From the previous video, Homeschool Survival 101, I explained why this is an essential part of learning. For younger students, realize that these breaks need to be longer and more active than older students. Any work they don't get done during this time becomes homework for them, just as it usually would, and is completed after the school day. I recommend that the school day at home still ends at 3, regardless of how fast they get through the online assignments. Life skills need to be included in that time frame and not be put off as extra, to be done only if we have time. Again, I will cover what life skills are in another video. But for now, just think electives and PE. If you're only homeschooling for a season as the virus runs its course, I recommend following your students' school schedule as far as when to have them do each subject. If they start with math in the morning at 8 a.m. at school, have them start math at the same time at home as well. I recommend the time after lunch be set aside for their life skill courses. For example, their electives, physical education, and other life skill courses I will discuss later. The reason I do this is because after lunch, your student's body is asked to multitask and must split its energy between digestion and focusing on coursework at the same time. Digestion takes brain power, just as learning does. After lunch, students need to handle their classes differently, and we need to help them succeed during this time of the day. I will discuss this further in another video. Looking at our schedule, it is very doable to have completed the 4 main subjects needed to be accomplished before noon anyway, so this shouldn't cause a problem. At 3, before homework is started, students should have a nutritional snack and some form of exercise that is intended to get their heart beating and their blood flowing. They can then focus on completing any material that has not been completed in the time they had allotted to them during the school day. All right, I hope this has been helpful as you figure out how to schedule this new routine. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.